Today we're going to take a look at replacing the radiator fan assembly on this 2010 Honda Accord with a 3.5 liter engine. Now there's two fans actually on this vehicle. One is on the driver's side referred to as the radiator fan. The one on the passenger side is referred to as a condenser fan. Now yes, they're both going to draw air across the radiator and as well as being drawn across the condenser. However, they're referred to as two different things. So in your testing, diagnosis, replacement, it's important to understand which one is which. The condenser fan is a metal shroud, whereas the radiator fan is a plastic shroud here. So if you're interested in replacing the condenser fan on the passenger side, we've got a video for that. But on this particular video, I'm going to focus on replacing the driver's side, or referred to as the radiator fan. So relatively straightforward. In all reality, we just have two bolts here holding on. On the bottom side of it, there's just two pegs that sit in a cradle down on the bottom. And so we're going to just remove these two bolts, disconnect the electrical connector, and simply lift it up out of its place. First, we need to gain access to it. So I need to remove this air inlet. For that, I'm just simply going to pull the center of this button up, which helps me get this retainer clip out, and then move this clip off to the side, and we've just gained some access here. So now I'm going to take a ratchet with a 10mm socket and remove the two upper bolts here. Once the bolts are out of the way, now, again, this thing's about ready to come out. You'll notice we have one obstruction though, being the upper radiator hose here. So, of course, I'm doing this with vehicle cool. There's no pressure on the cooling system here, and I don't want to run the risk of burning myself. So I can either use a channel locks plier to crimp this, or use the appropriate spring clamp tool to slide this away. And then I'm going to simply slide it back, hopefully not spill too much coolant. We might lose a little bit here, but what that's going to allow me to do then is lift this fan assembly up, unplug my electrical connector, and get the fan up out of the vehicle. So I'll just take a large enough pliers here. So we're going to work this back a little bit. Now I'll use a hose pick to gently work around the radiator hose here. Remember, we're working with a plastic neck on this radiator, so we want to be gentle. We don't want to pry too much or pop or push. So using a gentle twisting motion and working it back and forth, I can now pull this back out. And as expected, we're losing a little bit of coolant here, but gives me some access to now lift this up. I can reach down there, unplug my electrical connector, and be ready to reinstall my new fan. Well, now I've got my electrical connector loose. Now I can carefully maneuver this fan assembly. We've got a lot of plastic components here, so you want to be careful as we're sliding up out of here. We certainly don't want to damage the radiator neck, but you can see again where the alignment dowels are on the old one where it was sitting into place. So I can take my old fan, set it off to the side, and my new one is pretty much ready to drop in, make my electrical connection, and tighten down the bolts. I'll also give you a hot little tip here. It's a little difficult sometimes to make this electrical connection down below. So there's a little tab below here, and I can simply put my finger in there and release this from the clip. Allows me a little more flexibility with the electrical harness. Allows me to make my connection down below. Once I get the connection made, then I can simply slide it into place and lock it in the tab here so it's secured and won't melt in the exhaust or get caught in the fan. Hopefully that helps make the job a little bit easier for you. Well, now I've got my electrical connection made. I've gone ahead and clipped that harness up out of the way. so it's not going to get caught anything else. Now I just take my two upper bolts, start them by hand here. Get them going. Get them tightened up properly. Now I can go ahead and reinstall my upper hose. In similar fashion, I'll pinch this clamp, slide it back into place here. Now I will say I always recommend just replacing hose clamps, especially these spring style ones. May lose tension over the years, and once you disturb them, may result in a leak at some point. So best practice is to go ahead and replace the hose clamp. Maybe not a bad idea to even replace the hose while you're in here. But for the sake of today's video purpose, we've reinstalled it the way it is. Now I need to top off the radiator, ensure that I'm full of coolant, and then I'm going to start the vehicle, let it run, make sure the thermostat opens and closes, and that the fan actually does operate as intended. Once that's all done, we might want to rinse off so the customer doesn't smell any coolant here. I got to continue putting this ductwork back in there. But just like that, we've gone ahead and replaced the radiator cooling fan assembly on this Honda Accord 3.5 liter engine.